Hello, welcome to the Health Summit for June. We are so excited that you are here. We've got 4 of us on tap for tonight. If you're new to the Health Summit, this is our monthly, every first Monday of the month. You have access completely free of charge for dollars. You do have to pay with your time. Okay, so you have to invest your time, which is really more valuable than dollars anyway, which we all know. But this is what we do because we are passionate about helping others, particularly around health. This is the Health Summit. You'll see other summits popping up from us in the future, but this is the Health Summit. Within Life Transform, we've got the physical body area, and that's where this would fall. So we speak into our own or from our own experiences, and we speak into the things that have helped transform our life. And again, we are not doctors. Some of us have different certifications that we'll self-identify with. If you're one of those people that's important to you, then I understand absolutely. But don't take anything we're saying and run off and do something and say, they told me to do this, and then come back and try to sue us. Basically, that's all we're saying, is we're doing this out of the goodness of our heart. That's the way we roll. So tonight, the topic is going to be overthinking, and we're going to approach it from several different aspects. Overthinking is a big thing. If you Google, one of the most searched for items is how to deal with overthinking. It is an epidemic. It's in the world. People want to know. So you're going to get 4 different perspectives tonight on how you can deal with it. And we're going to kick off with Mr. Russell Shaw. So Russell, take it away, brother.
Well, I am excited that you're here, and if you're excited, I'm glad that you made it. If you're excited, tap a 1 in the chat. Give me a little 1 in the chat for those of you that's on here. But anyway, as I said, my name is Russell Shaw, and I'm one of the founders here with the Life Transform, and we love what we do, like Bob said. And I am also a member of the Neural Encoding Institute. I'm a certified elite neural encoder, and so I spend a lot of time helping people to work with their overthinking. They just overthink so much, and we don't even realize we're doing it. I actually have a course that I work on. It's called your how to control your ants, and I'm not talking about the ones that your mom's brothers or sisters, or sisters, I mean, but I'm talking about the automatic negative thoughts that we have, and so many times that's where so much of our overthinking comes from. Let's face it, you've done this before. You've had something happen. You've had some little thing happen, and the next thing you know, you've blown it out of proportion. The world's coming to an end. And you know as well as I do that even though we do this on a regular basis, when we get on the other side of it, the world didn't come to an end. but we feel that way. And if you don't get control of it, you will go down that road. And so we got to quit overthinking. We got to realize that overthinking is a problem. And so there's 3 areas of overthinking that we work on in the Neural Encoding Institute. And those 3 areas are how we see ourselves, what do we see in me, in you, how do we see others, the people around us, what is it that goes on, and then of course the view of our world, the world around us, what's going on there. And if you think about it, that covers pretty much everything that's going on in your life. Why do we overthink? What happens when we overthink? Well, there's a lot of stress occurs, anxiety occurs, you're unhappy. We don't like to be unhappy people, but whenever we overthink things, we have a tendency to become unhappy with the way things are happening in our lives. So let's just start with what we think about ourselves. And that's really one of the toughest areas is that we have to deal with, because so many times we say bad things about ourselves. We get on the computer and we're clicking away and we hit the wrong button and say, I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. You just made a simple mistake. You hit the wrong button, or you don't know how to spell a word. I'm so stupid. I'm spelling all these words wrong. You're not stupid. Or I'm an idiot. We use these words all the time, and the worst part about it is the first 2 words in there, because you're telling your brain that I am this bad thing. And Bob has heard my course on our I ams, and our I ams are so important, but our I ams are so about who we see ourselves to be. And if we're using these I am words that says I'm not a right good person, or I am not the person I want to be, then your brain says, oh, okay, we can be like that. And it just kind of perpetuates your overthinking. And so we got to get that under control. Here's what I want you to do. If you really want to get control of your own self, I want you to take over the next day or so, or it really won't take you that long, and write down 20 to 30 things about who you are. I am what? I am marvelous. I am amazing. I am smart. I am, if you want to be famous, if you're not famous yet, write down what you want to be. I am famous. I mean, and do it as an I am statement. Don't put in there, I'm going to be. Say, I am famous. I am whatever you want. I am a child of God. I am a lover. I am loved. I mean, all of these things are things that we do. So there's a few just to get you started. There was like 10 already. See, so now you just got to come up with 10 more. but those statements are so important. And whenever you do that list, that's something that you want to read every day. You want to take a look at that list and go through that. And I tell you what, if you really want to get into it, if you go and look up YouTube and do I am statements, they'll I am you for 30 minutes. And you can, but you can do that. I've actually had some people suggest to me that I do that. I did that for a little while. I did it for a short time. But the thing about it is, those are so good for you. And so if we see ourselves as we should, then we quit overthinking the things around us. Because what happens is whenever we don't believe in ourselves, whenever we feel like we failed and we're using these things about us, we overthink what's going on. We overthink the fact that, I am not a very good person. I am not who I want to be. But really, that's not true. You want to do the right thing. I want to do the right thing. So why in the world would you put these statements out there that are not true? And that comes from overthinking about who you are. So instead of overthinking, keep it simple. You are an amazing person. Pat yourself, put your arm in there, pat yourself on the back every now and say, yes, I am an amazing person. It make you feel good. Give yourself a smile. Yes. Smiles are always good. But then what do we think about others? We have these thoughts about others. Are the thoughts about others negative or positive? God says we should love everybody. If you love everybody, are you going to have negative thoughts about them, or are you going to have positive thoughts about them? More than likely, they're going to be positive. But so many times when somebody does something to us, right, we have these negative thoughts, and then we have thoughts of revenge, unforgiveness. All these things. And you know who they hurt the most? They don't hurt the other person, they hurt you. So the thoughts that you have of others can really, really become an overthinking thing. One of the things that's one of the 8 ants that we talked about is the automatic negative thoughts, is the fact that we all think we're mind readers. We walk in a room and everybody changes the conversation about, I bet they were talking about me. They weren't talking about you. You're not that important. But we get this idea, they got quiet, and then change the conversation. They might have picked up right where they were talking before. You don't know that, but yet you think, oh my gosh, what are they saying? Or somebody, at the store gives you a funny look, and it's like, well, what's wrong with that person? Why they look at me like that? They might have indigestion, you're thinking these things whenever you don't know the truth. And so we call that the mind reading ant. So you just got to get that under control. Next time you have this mind reading ant, just ask yourself, is it true? Are they really talking about me? Well, of course not. They're probably not. So what's the other side of it? You need to go to that other side of that. Well, they're not talking about me. I just come in the middle of the conversation and kind of you can think of it like this. Oh, I was so important. Everybody looked at me when I walked in the room. Instead of thinking, well, they were talking about me. No, if they turned around, say, oh, I'm sorry, I was such a person that I walked in and everybody looked at me. And a lot of times if you walk in a room, there's not a whole lot of it. They will look at you because you've come in a room and a lot of times they will stop talking. I say, oh, look, they might not even know your name, or they might say, oh, there's Russell, But the thing about it is, don't think you can read their mind. Believe me. The guy that I work with in neuron coding, he's been doing this for 30 years, and he says, I ain't learned how to read anybody's mind yet. And so you're not going to figure it out in the short amount of time that you're going to learn this. And so, whenever I was in human resources, I always liked it whenever don't take this the wrong way. I shouldn't say I always liked it when I fired people, but I always liked it when I was going to fire people or let people go, because I love to hear their stories. The first thing they would tell me says, I know why you're getting rid of me. I said, oh, really? Tell me why I'm getting rid of you. I love to hear the story. And so they'll give me all this stuff, and I say, now let me tell you why I'm really getting rid of you. Because I didn't just fire anybody just for it. And I says, this has happened, and I usually had all the paperwork. But even, the good side of this is I do love people, and even whenever I let people go, I would try and help them to find their next job. Because a lot of times people want to do the right thing. See, and whenever you think about others, you got to think about people really want to do the right thing. Why do I want to go down this negative road with them? And a lot of people, after I fired them, they come back and say, I'm so glad that you got rid of me. I found a job that I like so much better. Thanks for helping me find a job. And that always makes you feel good whenever you've helped somebody. And so instead of thinking these negative thoughts about others, think about the good things. What is it that's going on? I've found that whenever I think the good thoughts and quit trying to read their mind, I'm in a much better place, and they are too. The last one is the world around us. And I'm not sure if we're overthinking or if we just hear too much. We get so much news. And then what do you do whenever you get the news? You go and watch the news and you change the channel. I'm changing the channel in old ways. You hit the button. The old way you turn the knob, but you hit the button and change the channel, and you hear the same thing in a different aspect. And then you turn the channel, you hear it again, and then you go to the internet. Well, what's the truth? Like the internet's going to give you the truth. You're still just as confused as you was before. And what's really interesting about that is I've got friends all over the world, and a lot of times I'll sit down and send them a message. Hey, here's such and such going on. I says, really? Wow, I didn't know it was that bad. Because most times it's not. Most times the things that happen even around the world are not as bad as the news makes it sound. The world around you, we allow it to affect us so many different ways, but yet if you really think about that, world is around you is probably only like 50 or 60 mile radius of where you live. And let me ask you a question. What's the world around you really like? Did you worry about going outside this morning? Did you think somebody was going to rob you before you got out of your driveway? Do you think there's going to be carjacked? I mean, did any of those things even come to your mind? And I know that some people, yes, according to where they live, but probably 98% of people that's listening to this, you didn't even think about that happening. And so the world around you, let's just boil it down to where we're at, because that's really what it's about, and don't allow all these other things. So as you're moving forward, as you think about it, look back. What are the things that's going on in your world? Are you overthinking it? Listen, life is simple. We like to make it difficult. Don't overthink it.
Awesome. Thank you, Russell. I loved it. As you were talking, one of our values at Life Transformed is don't make assumptions. So that reminded me of that mind reading ant.
Yep.
You just can't make assumptions.
No.
And then the other thing that you talked about that was so good, it was kind of back to the neuroscience stuff. Deconstruct a negative thought and reconstruct it into the positive with the 20 I am statements and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's very consistent. And I love what you said at the end. It is simple. We make it complicated. Keep it simple. Thank you so much, Russell. Now we're going to go to Miss Sybil Marie Harmon.
Hey guys, Sybil here, and I'm going to bring you guys 5 essential oils in under 5 minutes that I personally love to use and recommend to people who are working on focusing their mind and being able to think more clearly, as we're talking about overthinking and all the things that go along with that. I just really like to use nature as my first ally whenever it comes to anything that I'm trying to do. It manifests physically or mentally, like we're talking about tonight with overthinking. So we'll start out with the single oils, and then I have 2 blends in the end. So 2 of my favorite oils that help your brain to develop pathways that are beneficial to your health, because it wasn't until the 1990s that we actually learned that the brain is not static. It doesn't just remain the same. It creates these grooves in our brain. Just the best way I was described how it works, and I'll give you guys a little rundown on that, is that think of a dog and a field. Let's say you have a field of sunflowers in your backyard, and you have a dog, and you let your dog out, and there's a stream on the other side of those sunflowers. Your dog is trying to get the stream, so he's going to run through those sunflowers. And the first time it's going to be hard because there's not really a path for him. So let's say that he then decides that he's going to run to this river that's on the other side every single day. Well, once he's created that first pathway, he's going to then use that same pathway as it becomes the clearer route and easier to access that stream on the other side. And it's going to create a groove in that path. That is the same thing that happens with our brain when we have these different, when we have these different things that come in and start to create these grooves in our brain. That's the path of least resistance. So that's the path that's going to keep taking unless you do something to redirect that path. So first of all, vetiver and rosemary. I like to mix these 2 oils together. Vetiver is a very wonderful earthy oil. As you can see, it's going there, it might be backwards for you guys, but I have a dropper vial on it because it's very thick, but it smells so good. It's so calming and relaxing. It can really help your brain focus in on whatever it is that you're setting your mind to. So using some of these tips that everybody else is sharing tonight, you can pair them with these essential oils and really get the most bang for your buck, if you want to say, but really start building these better pathways for your brain when you're responding to different situations and stimuli that are in your environment. Rosemary, and you guys can look these up, see kind of what depth of details that go into all the things that these oils can do, but I just really wanted to make sure that you guys know, like, all right, when it comes to essential oils and using plant medicine, where do I start? So vetiver is number one, rosemary. This is a wonderful herbaceous oil. It smells like a garden. I really love diffusing vetiver and rosemary together in a diffuser. And especially if you're trying to study or you've got some work that you need to get done and you really just need to like put your head down and plow through it. These two work so well together in conjunction, but it's also great for your memory as well. So as you're trying to study for maybe a test or an upcoming exam or speech that you're going to be giving, these two make a wonderful combination, and you can also use them individually. So I highly encourage you guys to kind of deep dive on some of those and go search and see what else you can find on vetiver and rosemary. Really great for people who are struggling with memory loss as well. So if that's you, especially from the more elderly community, these two are powerhouses. Next up is going to be clary sage. This oil is one of my favorites. It's really, really strong. So when you're using clary sage, a little bit goes a really long ways. But I like to personally use it for my pineal gland. I like to apply it right here. As for the vetiver and rosemary, my suggestion for applying these and the other two I'll talk about at the end is at the base of where your neck and your spine meet your skull. There's a band of muscles there that are really great for absorbing these oils into the brain and having that quick access right to where you're wanting to really troubleshoot or help yourself in that brain region. So clary sage, this is a wonderful oil for focus. I've got it open here in my book. It says that it supports a calm, clear, focused mind, and who doesn't need some of that? But when it comes to the pineal gland, that really is the seed of our consciousness that connects us to source, from my understanding and from the research that I've done. And a lot of us don't even realize, but we have calcified pineal glands, so it's harder to connect into source and have that clear thought pathway to whatever it is that we're trying to create in our world or in our day-to-day life. So clary sage just right there on the temple, or sorry, not the temple, right there on the pineal gland is a wonderful place to apply that. And just literally, I'm going to apply some right now. So good for hormones too, but you can just put your finger on it, put a little dabble there, and just get it on there. It's a great way to start your day. If you work in an office, or if maybe you're a teacher or you're a student, clary sage can do wonders for your memory and those thought patterns that we all create with those grooves in our brains. Now the two blends. So I'm not going to break these down entirely. You guys can go check these out. I personally use doTERRA essential oils, but there are lots of good oils on the market, and there are way too many bad oils on the market. So get a trusted brand, whatever it is that you like to use and that you actually feel the results from and can get the benefits from. doTERRA's oils are all medical grade, and they have wonderful backings behind them. So you can deep dive on that as well. And I touch on that in some of the other summits that we've had. But two of the blends that they produce, one is called Intune. This is a focus blend, so clearly this is a great option for anytime you're trying to focus or get your thinking pattern to do something a little differently for you than you're used to. This one comes in a roller ball, which means it has a nice little rolly application, and right there at the back of the neck where the neck and the skull meet is a wonderful place to put that. I like to put it on, rub it in. This oil, I will break down for you what's in there in case you want to deep dive on some of the individual oils in this blend. It has Indian sandalwood, which sandalwood and frankincense oils penetrate the blood-brain barrier, which I think is so cool. And not a lot of stuff can do that. So when we're talking about the brain, these are great oils to benefit your brain. Patchouli is in there, so great and grounding. It helps you focus in. Frankincense, once again, permeates the blood-brain barrier. It has lime, ylang-ylang, also Hawaiian sandalwood, and Roman chamomile. So in my book that I like to use, which is called The Essential Life Book, it kind of highlights all those individual oils in here and talks about how they help your brain and how they help you focus. So that blend was specifically created for tuning in, really. That's why it's called Intune. And last but not least is one of doTERRA's newest oils that they've brought to market, and it's called Adaptive. If you guys have heard of adaptogenics, it's great for your brain. A lot of mushroom varieties contain adaptogenics. And so this adaptive oil has spaledium root, which comes from a cactus, which is really cool. And then it also has gamma. Gamma is something that you'll find if you start to dive into that and research a little bit. It's so good for creating those healthy neural pathways in your brain. doTERRA makes it in an oil form, and then they also have a capsule form that a lot of people have had a lot of success being able to think more positively and create those better pathways. And the oils that are in here are wild orange, lavender, copaiba, magnolia, spearmint, sweet gum, rosemary, of course, and neroli. So it's a great smelling blend. I love diffusing this, and I also love recommending people take the capsules, which are just really, really good for people who have a lot of overstimulus and a lot of stress in their days. The oil can be made into a roller ball. That's what I like to do, or diffused. And so I totally went over 5 minutes, but that was my 5 oils in 8 minutes that I wanted to just highlight for you guys as we're talking about ways that you can benefit how you think, because really thinking and what we think about really affects how we move through life in the day-to-day and in the bigger picture. So being able to hold the reins of your mind and really guide yourself to the places that are more beneficial, more positive, and bring good things back to you is so much better than just staying in those ruts that have just been forged over time, and we get stuck in those ruts and they just become the norm and we feel like there's no way out. So all of these oils provide a ladder for you guys to climb out of the rut and to start creating new, healthier neural pathways on your journey to, you know, controlling your mind and benefiting yourself along the way, learning new things and being able to stay on top of it, because we have so much stimulus in today's world. Everything is so loud around us. It's hard to just even hear ourselves think sometimes, or some of the voices in our head might get a little too loud and kind of overrun what our natural desire is to have more positive thinking and thoughts that can lead us to really beautiful pathways in our life. So with that, I'm complete. I'm going to turn it over to the next presenter. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, that was awesome. You know what I love? The fact, you know, Sybil's presentation there talks about, and she talks about, in this case, essential oils, which is great. And it just, you know, when you believe in something, right? If you believe it, it's going to have so much more power than if you're a skeptic. Do y'all agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the ability to believe is so powerful. And that's what I love about our health summit, is that we've got folks who really believe. You know, Russell presented, you could tell he believes, Sybil believes, I'm about to present, I believe, Kristen believes. And I always tell folks, if they ask for my advice, because you don't want to give advice when people don't ask for it. That usually doesn't go well. But I always share with people, and they say, well, how do you determine what to do? And I said, well, find somebody that you align with. Find somebody you trust, you feel good about. And if they share, hey, this really works for me, trust that and go with it. I think it's more important to find trusted sources versus focusing on the product or whatever it may be. So just a little editorial comment there, and I am going to jump in. So I'm going to approach this from the spiritual standpoint. You know, we have 5 purpose areas within Life Transformed. So that's where I'm going to come at this, from the spiritual. When I say spiritual, of course, you know, from my perspective, Jesus, it isn't religion, okay? It's simply Jesus for me. And there's no right or wrong answer for you. You may not know Jesus at all, like I was 10 years ago. I knew nothing about the Bible or Jesus, and that's fine. But just for purposes of tonight, and if you're not a Jesus person, don't shut off the video and say, oh, I don't want to hear about Jesus. There will be no attempt to get you to follow Jesus or anything like that. But just think of Jesus as a teacher. He was a rabbi back in the day. He was a teacher. And there are all kinds of teachers, and people chose to follow certain teachers based on what they were teaching. So Jesus taught on this earth for about 3 years, and the whole Bible is about Jesus. It really is, when you think about it. We're not going into that tonight. But just think, this is a teaching of somebody that started a worldwide movement, worldwide revolution, if you will, that still carries to this day. So just think of it as a teacher. All right, that's how I'd like you to approach tonight. So it's time to reflect on our actions and decide what needs to change. And again, we are talking all about overthinking. And my agenda today is going to be who's behind overthinking, how is it serving you, and how do you overcome it? So that'll be the points that we're covering tonight. Who is behind it? All right. Again, this is my belief. Who's behind overthinking? Satan. I believe Satan is behind overthinking. Satan is the mass distractor. He wants to have you distracted. He wants to have you going down rabbit holes. He wants to have you just busy and flustered and overthinking. Think about this. If you're overthinking, you're taking your attention off of what's really important, aren't you? If you're overthinking, you're distracted from the goodness that you have to offer the world. I firmly believe everybody was created for a specific purpose, to do amazing things and to make this world an amazing place. And what each of us has is unique to us. So anytime Satan, the enemy, can get us distracted, so we're not sharing our gifts into the world, guess what? He's winning now. He doesn't win the war. He's lost the war already. So the only domain he has is this world, this earth. And if he can keep somebody distracted or drifting along for their whole lives, he's happy because he's just like, well, I lost, but at least I kept these people drifting along and God didn't get to see all his glory that he wanted. That's the only satisfaction Satan gives. So I'm here to tell you, why give Satan any satisfaction? If you're overthinking, it works for me. I get pissed. I'm like, nope, you're not going to get me to do it. Your tricks are not going to suffice for me. So Satan encourages self-fulfillment versus self-denial. That's what he does. Self-fulfillment versus self-denial. Is there any denying the fact that our culture right now is all about self? Generally, it's all about self. Oh, I can do it. What can you do? It's all for you. You. You go on social media and here's how you can grow your business. Here's how you can do this. Here's how you can do that. Where's God? God's not present. You don't need God. That's the message of Satan. You don't need God. You can do it yourself. So anytime, this is awareness, and this is new awareness for you. Just think about it. How are you advertised to? What are you encouraged in school to do? All of these things. It's really kind of a mass conspiracy if you think about it. Reading the book, Outwitting the Devil. In that book, they say Satan claims to have 98 out of every 100 people drifting along in life. So I'm here to tell you, stop. If you're one of the drifters, you can stop. You can reverse that trend with some of the stuff that Russell said, Sybil said, and I'm sure the tips that Kristen's going to give you coming up. Okay, the cross is a symbol of death, not actual death, but death of self. So think of it that way. If Satan encourages self-fulfillment, the cross where Jesus went to die for us is a symbol of death, but it's death to self. It's like, okay, all the panelists have heard me say this, if I ever make a decision based on me, just slap it. It's like, no, the power is not me. I'm nothing without my teacher, without Jesus. I'm nothing. So it's the death of self that is going to get you out of overthinking. Because guess what? Overthinking is a symptom of I've got to do it. Oh, if I do this, what's going to happen? If I do that, what if I do I? Get away from all of that. And the third point, if we deny demonic activity, then we demonize people, the people Jesus came from, for. So just think about that. There are a lot of people that say, oh, there's no such thing as the devil. No such thing as the devil. So that forces people to say, so people are evil. People aren't evil. God loves every single person. But the devil wants you to demonize people versus him. He wants you to take our eyes off of him and focus on other people. Satan rules in this world. He is ruling in the heavenly realms. That's where spiritual warfare is happening. That's where warfare is happening in your head when you're overthinking. But Satan is good because he will put something in your head that's 95% true. So you're like, oh yeah. But then 5% will be a little bit, just enough to get you to doubt. Oh, I know I want to do this good in the world, but I just don't think anybody's really gonna listen to me. Because the last time I tried to do this, I didn't get a good response. That's Satan. Tap, 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 tapping on you. So that, listen, if nothing else you get from this is don't fall into this trap. I love the two pictures there. Satan, the apple. That's Adam and Eve. That's where he started it all. The serpent. Take a bite, take a bite, take a bite. And that was all in the tree of knowledge that you can know. You can have all the knowledge. Certainly God won't kill you for that. So just be super careful with anything about self-fulfillment. And I love this little picture. The little kids, that's what we're telling them. I was told that as a kid too. Believe in yourself. Self-fulfillment. That picture on the right. Believe in yourself. Yeah, have confidence in yourself because God, you're a child of God. That's why. That's why you believe in yourself, because God believes in you. Little twist, kind of like what Russell was talking about. Turn that into an I am statement. I am amazing because God created me and God doesn't screw up. He creates people, he does not mess up. He created you uniquely and he broke the mold after that. And then the quote on the bottom there from 2 Corinthians 2:10-11, forgive in order that Satan might not outwit us, for we are unaware of his schemes. So that's, speaks right to forgiving people in your life. And just remembering that if it isn't about love, if it isn't about building each other up, it's Satan. It's one of his schemes. That's why forgiveness is such a big part of living joyfully in this world today. So that's who's behind it from a spiritual perspective. Now, how is it serving you? I love all the pictures I have on here. These are people. I went on the different picture places and said, overthinking, what does it look like? So this is what overthinking looks like. And how is it serving you when you're overthinking? It's a time waster, right? It is a time waster. Because if you're overthinking, you are wasting time. And that is, again, the most valuable resource that we have, more valuable than money. Usually overthinking is a sign of wanting to control. Back to I again. How am I going to control this situation? I've got to really think this through so I take the right steps so I can influence the outcome. Can you see how debilitating that can be? Second guessing. You may have what you may call your intuition or Holy Spirit or whatever that says, oh yeah, I think I should do this. And then you start second guessing yourself. Well, I don't know. Or you ask a friend and they say, well, I don't know. And pretty soon you're into the overthinking game. It's not serving you well. How are you feeling when you're doing this? Worry about the same thing. That is a classic symptom of overthinking. If you find yourself worrying about the same thing over and over and over again, on Monday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Saturday, the same thing, that's a classic sign of overthinking. Ruminating, we all hear about ruminating. Just go down the rabbit holes, as they say. So if you find yourself feeling any of these things, or you find yourself in any of these situations, it's okay. Now you're aware. Use some of the things that Russell talked about, that Cynthia talked about, that I'm talking about, to get yourself out of it. Awareness is always the first step with all of this. Be aware. And then worst case scenario thinking. Another big one for overthinking. Oh, what's the worst case scenario? Oh, and if that happens, pretty soon it's 15 minutes later and you haven't taken any action and you're paralyzed. How is it serving you? How is overthinking serving you? That is the question that the guy that trained Russell and I on coaching, that it was one of the best questions he would ask me anytime I was stuck. Well, Bob, how is that serving you? How is that serving you? And I'd have to really think and say, well, it's really not. But I'm not taking action. I'm not doing the things that I should be doing. All right, so now let's get to what we've been waiting for, right? Because how do you overcome it? How do you overcome from a spiritual standpoint overthinking? Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of Bible verses here. You're thinking, all right? Surprise, you're thinking. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Take captive every thought. That's Russell with his statements. Any negative talk that you're giving yourself, anytime Satan is tapping you on the shoulders, think into 2 Corinthians 10:5. Take every thought captive. You're aware now, you can do this. And you set it up against the knowledge of God. God is love. God is abundance, joy, peace. All of those things. So if it's not bringing you any of those fruits of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22, those are the emotions of God, by the way. So if you're not experiencing those emotions, then there's a good chance that you need to take that thought, hold it captive, and turn it around. And again, for me, what works is to say, nope, Satan, you're not going to get me to go there. You're not going to distract me with this. And then community of deep relational ties can get you out of overthinking. Ecclesiastes 4:12. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Listen, if you are with people, just imagine you're in a community of people, you've got a group of friends, and you're all saying to each other, okay, we're going to help each other with this overthinking thing. We're going to get together once a week, once a day, once a month, whatever it is. And we're just going to intentionally talk about overthinking. And when we get into an overthinking, we write it down. And then when we meet with our friends, we talk about it. And we say, hey, how would you hold this captive, this thought? How would you turn it around? And they'll speak into you. And the more you are aware of this, and the more intentional you are about leaning on some of these teachings from Jesus that he taught when he was walking around this earth, and that is recorded in the Bible for you. So there's a handbook right there for you. Recommend too. Psalms is great because Psalms will let you understand who God is. That's the primary role of Psalms. And Proverbs are going to tell you how to interact with your fellow men and women. So Psalms and Proverbs is so good, so much wisdom there. So remember these two verses, and remember, overthinking, in summary, is a tactic of the devil. And believe that the devil is real. Just believe it. Just believe it. Just try it out for a month. If you don't believe it now, try it out. Try living with that thought. Say, okay, Robert, I'm going to just take a month and just do what you're saying here and live that way. And you're going to be amazed at how things are going to clear up for you. And you're going to start to see the transparent way that Satan tries to work to get us distracted. Remember, he's the master distractor. So if you're ever distracted, Satan is behind it. All right. That'll wrap it up for me tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Kristen.
All
Super
right.
excited.
Thank you so much, Bob. We've got so many good nuggets tonight. So during Sybil's presentation, I grabbed my oils and I put some on the back of my neck because I did not know that spot. I always just normally put it on my wrists and some of those other places. So that was an awesome tip already. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to be tie right in with what Bob and Russell shared. So my tips are going to be about how to stop overthinking from a health theme. So we're going to talk about some health and nutrition pieces as we're going to talk about this overall theme of overthinking. So if you have not been with us before, my name is Kristen Hodop. I am a certified holistic nutritionist and a gut health and nutrition coach. So I've been helping people for the last over 5 years and sharing what I've learned that's worked for me. So as Bob said in the beginning, we're each sharing our own tips from our own perspectives, what's worked for us. So if I can get my slides to go there. So here in this segment, I'm going to talk to you about positive reframing, taking imperfect action, and practicing specific gratitude. So you may have heard of some of these concepts, but we're going to talk about them and what they mean in terms of overthinking. So the first one is positive reframing. So there's always things that are going to happen in our life. There's always situations. Some are going to be amazingly good. Some are going to be amazingly bad. And some are going to be in the middle. So you're always going to have a spectrum of different situations, but no matter what it is that's happening, we want you to look for the silver lining. Find something in that situation that you can be grateful for, that you can be excited about, that you can be okay with even, because sometimes there's going to be some really tough situations in your life, and you've got to be able to find something in that particular situation. Or if we're talking in our realm of overthinking tonight, it's really about focusing in on the positive in whatever it is that you are trying to do. So for example, for me, I struggle with perfectionism, which means that I don't want to do something until I know it's perfect. And that is absolutely overthinking. If you've never thought about it like that, it is. Do overthinking and perfectionism, and you'll see so many ties into that piece. So how I have been able to work through and overcome my perfectionism is to look for what is good in that particular piece. So my trainings, as I'm putting them together, I think to myself, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect until I'm ready to give this. What is it that's good in there? What is it that I'm proud of in there? And then I put that out there into the world. And it's not about being perfect. It's about living your purpose. I should write that one down. It's not about being perfect. It's about living your purpose. And so put your God-given gifts out into the world and look for the silver lining and things that are going to happen. So let's look at some more examples. So thanks for writing that down, Bob, because I didn't write it down while I was talking. All right, so example number 1. So you had juice for breakfast. Okay, maybe that wasn't exactly what you had planned to have for breakfast. Maybe it wasn't exactly what you had thought that you should have, whatever your picture perfect breakfast is. That's okay. Look for the silver lining. You had your liquids. Our goal is to get 50% of our body weight in ideally water, but in liquids throughout the day, those non-caffeinated beverage. All right, check mark. I had liquids for breakfast. All right, middle one. So you fell doing yoga. So what? You put yourself out there, you did yoga, you got your body moving, and you probably made some great friends along the way too. Check mark. That's your silver lining. All those different other things that happened as a result of what you did, even though it wasn't perfect. All right, number 3. So your kids were crying in the pictures. Again, so what? You had an amazing time together as a family. You spent real time together. It wasn't behind screens. It wasn't behind social media or whatever else is out there. You spent real time together as a family. That's the silver lining. And there may be a gem that photographer was able to capture that you just might not see at that moment. So again, look for that silver lining. All right, let's talk about number 2. So tip number 2 is to take imperfect action. And so this one really, I really kind of tied the two of them together. Don't wait until everything is perfect, which again is tough for me. All right, so number 1 there, you don't have to see all the stairs. So I like this example because I'm very much a how person. How am I going to get there? How am I going to do this? And that's one of the conversations that Bob and I have had especially when we were talking about putting this health summit together. How are we going to do this? How are we going to make sure? We don't have to know everything. God knows everything. We just have to take the first step. Whatever it is that you're looking at, stop overthinking, just take the first step. Number 2 there on the screen, your meal prep doesn't have to be perfect. So if you are working on a health journey and you've decided that you're going to start meal prepping, you're going to start packing your lunches, you're going to help your kids pack your lunches, you're going to create a list and you're going to have these things for your meals for the week. And one day you got busy and you went out for fast food. That's okay. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to take that imperfect action. You're going to do whatever it is that you wanted to do. If you wanted to make your box lunches, like what you see here on the screen. Now, I am not a box lunch person. I was trying to find a picture to go along with this. That's not me. I prep my veggies and I put my veggies in the refrigerator for my snacks. That's me. That's how I meal prep. Other people do it differently, similar to these boxes and packing your lunches on the screens. But again, everybody's got their own way that's going to work for them. What works for me is not going to work for you, is not going to work for Bob, and might not work for Russell either. Take imperfect action, and then you can change as you learn more. So as you know more, you can do better. And then lastly there, you don't have to check every nutrition box every day. So we talk about, if you've listened to other health summits, we've talked about 9 to 13 servings of fruits and veggies every day. We talk about making sure you're getting in whole grains every day, that you're getting in your berries and nuts and seeds. Well, you don't have to check every box every day. Just do the best you can, and that's okay. You're then going to give yourself some grace, and you're going to say, it's okay. I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to do it again. And take that imperfect action. Don't spend all the time overthinking, beating yourself up, using those negative I am statements that Russell talked about. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We're going to take that imperfect action, give ourselves some grace, and we're going to give it to God. And so then lastly is to practice specific gratitude. So we often hear about gratitude journals and making sure that you look for things that you are thankful for each day. I've also heard about people writing out 100 different things that they're thankful for, making this huge list. I know that was overwhelming. I had to do that one time. 100 things that you're thankful for. And it really makes you get specific. What exactly are you thankful for? You can't just be in general terms. The more specific you get, the more focused in you can be. And that will help you if you struggle with overthinking and perfectionism. So let's look at another example here. So instead of saying, I am thankful for my health, say something specific about your health that you're thankful for. So that second picture there on the screen, I'm thankful that I can do squats and lunges to maintain my muscles. I am thankful that I know how to prep my veggies carefully and not cut my fingers. I am thankful that I have shoes that I can use just for running. Anything, whatever it might be that you're thankful for, be specific. So we often talk about SMART goals. You should have SMART gratitude and think about exactly what it is that you are thankful for. So to recap, we're going to take imperfect action. We're going to be specific about our gratitude, and we are going to look for the silver lining in all of our different areas, and that will help us keep moving forward and stop overthinking. So I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight for the Health Summit, and we look forward to seeing you into the community. So back to you, Bob.
All right. So awesome. You guys, we're going to do a podcast about this, kind of summarizing and taking a little deeper dive. So that podcast will come out next Monday. So be on the lookout for that. And again, Kristen, so many notes, and I love that quote. Not about being perfect, it's about living your purpose. That one has got a good ring to it. I love it. So many great tips, and I think, that's the beauty of this. If you put all 4 of our tips and tricks together, you're going to have, I believe, a foolproof way to get yourself out of overthinking very quickly too. And just let me share with you, this is an example. We're going to have another challenge coming up, which is the way to really get into our community in the most effective way. We're going to add value to you for 7 straight days, 7 days over 2 weeks in a day. And that's going to be absolutely free. And you're going to be able to transform your lives in so many ways, just like you can tonight. And that's what we believe in giving first. We are giving first of our time, of our gifts, the things that we've learned. And then if you feel like, wow, I'd like to be a part of these folks, I'd like to talk to Russell one-on-one sometime about ants. And like he said, don't ask him about the ones that are crawling around like in my office right now. Don't ask him about those ants. Well, you could. He probably knows something about that too. But the point is, we are all about community and helping people go from isolation to community, because we believe that is the number one problem that everybody has that they don't realize that they have. Even though we're more connected than at any time in history, we're also more isolated. Okay. And so our hearts go out to you. You're watching this live. If you're watching on a recording, share this, reach out to us. We have a way that you can get into our community for free, but we need your specific email, and then we can send you a direct link right into our community where you can interact with us on a regular basis. And as we've all talked about, Holy Spirit has got it. If you're feeling a prompting, don't overthink it. Just do it. Just take action. If you're feeling that prompting right now, take some action. Okay, so that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Any last comments, Russell or Kristen? Nope. Okay, I think we're out. Join us next month, first Monday of every month. We'll be on here for the Health Summit. Check us out. We're on every kind of social media you can think of. Got an email list. Go to life-transform.com. You can get on the email list. Lots of good stuff we're doing. So until next month, Have a great, great rest of your day, morning or evening, and we will see you next time. Take care.